Hi there. This video is a short introduction to Jotz CMS. So Jotz is a lightweight content management system which can be used for authoring and editing content for the web. Um, it allows you to create content to be published online, but just using the web browser. The posts that you write on Jotz will be written in what we call Markdown, which is a very lightweight markup language. It's widely used on websites like GitHub to allow people to easily write content to be displayed on a web page, um, but in a plain text language that's very easy to write and easy to read even before it's been converted into the form that it'll finally be presented in. We're going to see how to do headings, links, lists, embed images, and so on using Markdown in Jotz in this video. Jotz also provides a facility for uploading and hosting files. So that could be images that you want to include in a web page, but it could be other types of files as well that you want to share with people reading your blog posts. So Jotz provides a way to host those files online. And Jotz also has some more advanced features which allow you to apply um, different styles to different elements in the post that you write to change the visual appearance of your blog posts. So specifically, we're going to cover the following in this video. I'm going to show you how to log into Jotz CMS, how to create a new blog post, how to split it up into sections and subsections, how to create a link to another web page in one of your blog posts. I'll show you how to upload a file to Jotz, so I'll show you an example of uploading an image file, but you can upload other types of files as well. I'll show you how to embed an image that you have uploaded into one of your blog posts. Something important that you'll need to do when you're documenting your RoboSumo project is adding an example code that you wrote for the Arduino. So I'm going to show you how to create a code listing, and then you'll also want to show videos of your robot actually functioning. So I'm going to show you how to embed a YouTube video in your blog post. So um, you'll have received an email somewhere around the start of the project which contains your login details for Jotz CMS. So if you look for an email from accounts at robosumo.eu, or if you search for a subject line which has Jotz CMS in it, you'll find your login details. It will include a link to your own personal blog, which will be something like the following: robosumo.eu, followed by your student number. Now, the student number is case sensitive, and you'll need to check whether your account has been created with an upper or lowercase letter at the start of your student number. So refer to the email that you've been sent and make sure that you use the exact address that you were given in the email. If you change the case of the letter there, and it could be upper or lowercase for your personal blog, if you get it wrong, it won't successfully log in. So I'm going to use this example account that I've created here. So this is a bogus student number. So when you first go to view the public front page of your blog, it'll look blank like this. So it'll just have RoboSumo at the top. It'll display your username, which will be your student number, and there won't be any posts listed until you've actually written some. So the first thing we're going to do is log into the back end of the CMS using the CMS link here, and then create a new post. So I'm going to type in the login details for this fake user. Now, I just noticed I have a caps lock on there. So again, this is case sensitive. So you need to type it in exactly the way that it's in the email you were sent, which could be upper or lowercase. So please check the email. And I'm going to paste in the password for this fake user. Once you successfully log into the Jotz CMS backend, you'll see the banner changes at the top of the page, but also there's additional links available in the menu bar. So the first one I'm going to use is new article, and that will open the Jotz CMS editor where we can enter a title for our blog post and then type the actual text for the post into the main edit box down here. So for this one, what will I call it? Arduino motor control example. So I'm just making up a fake title for a blog post there. And first we'll just put in um, a short sentence here, and we'll check that the post has been successfully created. So some text goes here and create update article. So once you've created the article by clicking that button, you'll see that some new links appear here. There's a link to delete the post. You probably won't need to use that. And then there's a link here to see how the post is actually going to appear to somebody viewing it on the web. So I'm going to click that to have a look at what their post currently looks like. And you can see that the title of this blog post is formatted in a larger font, as you'd expect. And then the paragraph of text, which is just one sentence at the moment, is just formatted in the default font. So the post has been created, and this is currently publicly visible on the web now that we've created it. So let's add in some more elements into the blog post. First thing I'm going to do is show you how to do sections and subsections. So to create a section heading, you start a line with two hash symbols, followed by a space, and then the name of the section. So I'm going to make my first section, it'll just be called Introduction. Second section is going to be let's call it Arduino circuit. Third part here is going to be Arduino code. If we wanted to do a subsection, you can do a subsection using three hash symbols. Let's just call that example subsection, just so you can see what this looks like. I'm going to take these ones back out now in a minute. Or indeed, you can do subsections, and they'll just be formatted in decreasing sized fonts. But you can do sections, subsections within sections, or subsections within subsections, and so on. So before we add anything into these sections, let's just have a look. Well, maybe I'll just put some example text in just so we can see the content inside each one here. But we'll add some proper content in here in a minute. So anytime you make a change to the blog post, before that will affect the web page that's visible online, you need to click on this Create Update Article button. And once you've clicked that button, anyone who views the page, I'm just going to reload the page here, they'll see the latest version of what you've written. So you can see my main sections are formatted in this quite large font here. So Introduction, Arduino Circuit, Arduino Code. But the subsection is a slightly smaller font, and the subsection is a slightly smaller font again. But they're still distinct from the text within each section. So that's basically how you do your section headings. Now, in fact, for this blog post, I don't really need the subsection and the subsections. So I'm going to just take them out now that we know how to do them. And instead, I want to show you how to put in a blog link. So, or sorry, a web link. So for the introduction, what am I going to say here? This blog post will demonstrate how to perform motor control using an Arduino Nano. Yeah, let's start with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the word Arduino into a link to another web page. So if I update this right now and we look and see what the page looks like, you can see all the text is just formatted the same throughout that sentence there. There's no part of it that's formatted differently. I want this word here to become a web link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take the address of another web page, and I'm going to make this a link to that web page. So to do that, all we need to do is take the text that you want to turn into a link and put square brackets around it. And then following them, you're going to have a pair of round brackets, and we're going to put the address in here. So I'm going to copy in the address between those round brackets there. Now, I have in another tab got the Arduino Wikipedia article open here. So I'm going to just take the address and copying that address here from the address bar into the clipboard. And then I'm going to go back to the Jotz editor, and I'm just going to paste that in. So in between the two round brackets, I've got the address of another web page. And I'm going to click Create Update. And when we reload the web page here, you can see the word Arduino is now a link to that other web page. So that's how you do web links. I just did a single word here, but you can highlight multiple words just by enclosing them in, that pair of square brackets, and the whole lot will become a single link. So that's how to do a web link. Next thing I want to show you is how to upload an image. So I'm going to go to back to the Jotz editor, and on the menu bar here, there's one of the links is upload. And when you click it, it's going to open a new tab in the browser. And that tab is basically a form um, that allows you to specify a file to be uploaded. So I'm going to click on choose file, and I'm going to select the image that I want to upload. So it's in my downloads folder, and I'm going to upload two images here actually. First one I'm going to upload is the circuit diagram, which is a JPEG. So what I've done here, I've selected the file to be uploaded, but it hasn't yet been uploaded. I have to actually click on this upload file button. But once I click on that, you can see the file gets uploaded and it's added to a list here. Now I'm going to upload a second one here as well, just to demonstrate how the entire process works. So I'm going to select the second photograph here, circuitphoto.jpg. And again, I need to click on upload file to tell it to take the selected file and actually upload it. So you can see it's also been added to the list here. And as you add more and more posts to your blog, you'll accumulate a number of photographs that will just be listed here. Now, you're able to upload any kind of file that you want here. But if the file that you upload ends in a recognized file extension for an image, so something like .jpg or .png or something like that, then Jotz will suggest text that you can insert into your post in order to embed that into the post. So for example, for the circuit diagram here, I'm just going to copy all of that text underneath where the file is listed, and we'll be able to paste that straight into the blog post. So I'm copying that to the clipboard, I'm going to return to the editor, and I'm going to add that in here. So you can see the structure of this is very similar to when we did the web link above. We've got some text in square brackets, and then we've got further information, including the location of the image file in round brackets. The main difference is that there's an exclamation mark before this. That's what tells Markdown, or that's what signifies in Markdown that this is an image that's to be embedded rather than a web link. Now, strictly speaking, we should also change the text here and here to be text that actually describes this image. But before I do that, I'm just going to update the article and check that the image is actually appearing correctly. So update article, and if we can close that tab there. If we go back to the actual article here, I'm going to reload it to see the latest version. And you can see that in the Arduino circuit section, that image has now been embedded into the blog post. Now, one thing you'll notice when I hover the mouse over it there, you can see that it pops up a description of the image saying insert image title here. And that's because we didn't put in a proper description of the image. So there's a couple of different problems with that. Firstly, it looks bad when you hover the mouse over it and it says insert image title here. But the other thing is that if a visually impaired person was using a screen reader to read the article that you've written on your blog, they may not be able to see the image themselves. So they will require some sort of a text description, which will help them understand what content is actually being displayed there. So the way to add a text description is to put it in between the square brackets here, and also put it in between the inverted commas here. So in this case, since it's a circuit diagram, I'm just going to say Arduino circuit diagram. That's the description text. And I'm going to add that in here as well. So now when I update the article, you can see if I reload the page here, that when I hover the mouse over it, we now see the text description pops up. It says Arduino circuit diagram. So if somebody was using an audio screen reader here as well, they would hear that description of the image, which would be a lot more informative than just some generic text. Okay, so let's say to insert an image. Um, let's see what's next. I think next thing would be I'll put in some code here. So um, basically the idea with embedding Arduino code or any other type of code into a post is that you're going to use something called a fenced code block. So that basically means a block of text which has got two fences, one at the beginning and one at the end. Now what the fences actually consist of is three back ticks. So the back tick character on my keyboard is just below the escape key, but it can vary on different keyboards as to where it's actually found. It looks like an apostrophe, but it's tilted in the opposite direction. So I've got three back ticks at the start. That's the first, the opening fence, and three at the end. And I'm going to paste all of my computer code in between the two of them. So I have Arduino open here, just with an example program loaded. I'm just going to copy all of that to the clipboard and paste it in between the two fences. So you can see I've got the fence at the very end there, and at the beginning of the code, right up here, I've got the opening fence. The purpose of the fences is to tell Jotz that you want this text to be displayed using a mono-spaced font, and that you want it to preserve all of the spaces and things like that. So where you've got indentation in your code, you want that formatting to be preserved, which normally it wouldn't be in a regular paragraph of text in Markdown. So let's update the article and take a look at the code to see how that's appearing now. So you can see in the Arduino code section of my post here, it has a text, there's a normal paragraph of text beforehand, but then the fenced code block has now been formatted with a different color background. So you can see it's got a gray background color, but also the font that's been used is a mono-space font, and all that indentation has been preserved, which is very important for the readability of the code. And it also means that it'll be easy for somebody if they want to copy and paste this text out of here, and they'll still have all the indentation preserved if they copy that into Arduino or some other editor. Okay, I think the final thing I'd like to show in terms of elements, adding elements into a Jotz post, is how to embed a YouTube video. So this is very useful way of demonstrating the functionality of your robot. So I have YouTube open here. What I would recommend if you want to upload videos onto your blog post, the easiest way is to upload the videos to YouTube and then to embed the YouTube video into your Jotz CMS blog post. So I'm going to use this example of a video, someone else's video on YouTube, but this could be your own video that you've uploaded to YouTube yourself. So what I'm going to do is underneath the video, you'll find a share button. And if you click that, you'll see they provide various different ways of sharing your video on different platforms. The one that you're looking for is Embed. And this gives you just generic HTML code to embed the YouTube video into a web page. So I'm just going to copy that and return to the Jotz CMS editor. I'm going to put this into the introduction, and I'm just copying in exactly what YouTube suggested for embedding it. So you can see it's actually using a HTML element called an iframe. But you can see within it, it has the address of the video here. So basically it's going to load the embedded YouTube player and show that video ready to play in it. Okay, I'll update the article and we'll just see how that looks. So if I reload the page, you can see just after the paragraph, it has put in the embedded YouTube player. And if I clicked this thing here, it would start playing the video right here in the web page. So that's actually got the video can play within the page rather than the person being taken away from your blog post. So that's a great way to demonstrate the functionality of your robot, is just get videos of it, put them on YouTube, and then embed those videos into your blog posts. So that's the highlights really. The very last thing I'm going to show is just one sort of more advanced feature of the CMS. Um, is there is a settings link here. Now, if you want to, you can completely ignore this, but you might be curious to change some of the visual appearance of your blog, and you can do that by providing additional settings here. So you can use cascading style sheets, which is a language for applying styles to web pages. And you can put in custom CSS code here, and it will be applied to each of the pages on your blog. You can also change the HTML that's used at the beginning and end of each post on your blog. So at the moment, if I return to the home page here and we look at the blog post, basically that header text is what produces this banner at the top here. Now, in fact, the default footer is blank, but you could have some text at the end as well if you wanted to. So that's what the two, where am I going there? Here we go. That's what the custom header HTML and custom footer HTML are. You can add those in there. Um, but also the custom CSS would allow you to do things like change the font that's used or change the background color or the font color or whatever. I'm just going to show you an example of changing the CSS. So I'm going to take this from, this is actually from the cookbook webpage. I'm going to paste that in here. Now, I'm not going to explain how CSS works, but you'll find lots of information about that online. Suffice it to say here that I'm applying some visual changes to the body of the web page, which means the background of the entire page, um, and also to images that appear in the page. So I'm applying some styling to each of those types of elements. So I'm going to update settings here. And you'll see the effect of that if I reload this page here. You can see that it's changed the background to a kind of a gray color, and it's changed the font to the slightly bluish gray color, but it's also changed the margins on the web page. So you can make changes like that to your page just by editing these settings here. You could also change the header HTML at the top. So the default will just use the RoboSumo banner. But if you wanted to add some other, you could embed an image or something at the top here. I'm just going to use an example here. So I'm just going to use this text here as my example of a custom header. Let's try putting this in here. So if I reload the page, yeah, you can see it'll use the different custom header that you add in there. So you could put in something else there if you wanted to experiment with that. Okay, I think that's probably a good place to leave it there. I've covered the main things. If you have any questions that you're wondering about, you can send me an email if there's anything that you can't figure out how to do, but hopefully that'll be enough to get you started.